Welcome back to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast, brought to you by Violet Defense. Violet Defense is dedicated to protecting our world from germs by bringing the power of UV disinfection to everyday spaces. Their patented technology enables them to harness the power of the sun to incorporate ultraviolet light into products and environments like never before. Whether you're ready to implement existing products or if you'd like to explore researching and developing a custom deployment of their technology for your school, Violet Defense has the solutions and the experience you need. Thanks again to Violet Defense for sponsoring the Educational AD podcast, and you can find out more by going to www.violetdefense.com. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive. It's becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department, but Sideline Interactive scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year while also creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo and see what their tables and boards can do for you. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. We've got one of their video boards in our gymnasium at McClay in Tallahassee, and they are fantastic. We use it all the time. So check them out. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. We also want to welcome Wall of Fame by Vital Signs to the Educational AD podcast. Wall of Fame by Vital Signs has a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. We provide a variety of interactive touchscreen options and an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. For ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments, visit www.vitalsignswalloffame.com, or to learn more and get started with your digital Wall of Fame tribute, call 614-981-3589. You can also email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. The FIAAA has a Wall of Fame board for our virtual Hall of Fame, so check it out. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. Finally, we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your athletic program. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack also gives the 95% of the players and parents who really love your program a voice and help demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out our testimonials, and then call them at 1-800-738-6466 or email them at info@athleticsurveys.com. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack is the sponsor of the Educational AD Podcast Athletic Director Toolbox. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Let Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack help you take your program from good to great. We also want to thank Varsity Brands, including BSN, Varsity Spirit, and Herff Jones, along with Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing, for their support of the Educational AD podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the Educational AD podcast. We're staying right here in South Florida, and we're going to visit with Chris Harris, who is the athletic director at South Fort Myers High School in South Fort Myers, Florida. Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Well, you and I connected last spring when I came down to one of your track meets. I was the starter, and I've always said, there's one way to test the efficiency of an athletic director, and that's how well a track meet runs. And boy, yours was like the Olympic trials, just highly organized, and had a great time. I'll come down there anytime, but want to let you talk a little bit about your program. So thanks for being with us today.
Thank you again. So, and thank you for being my starter that day too as well. Appreciate that.
Oh, well, hopefully we'll get some track meets coming up this spring.
Yes, sir.
For our listeners, we're recording this on September 7th, so you're going to be listening to it pretty timely. Chris, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to school, and how you ended up at South Fort Myers High.
Oh yeah. Well, it all started in North Carolina. I'm a big Tar Heel fan. Go Tar Heels. I grew up in a small town called Cherryville, North Carolina. So if you're from the area, everybody knows it as Cherryville. It's 45 minutes west of Charlotte, Gaston County. So it's near Gastonia, Shelby, and Lincoln. It's a small little town. I think the high school might have had 500 kids in it. My graduating class had 120 in it. So you played sports from that Saturday morning football, basketball, middle school sports to high school. I did football, basketball, and track. Just loved the game. My mom kept me involved in sports somehow, some way. I had the opportunity to go play college ball at Greensboro College in Division III. Goal was to go there for 2 years and transfer out. But I just ended up loving it. I was starting within year 1 and 2, and I was like, I'm already here for 2 years. Might as well finish my last two, get my degree, and get out. So I was out in 2008. Started working just odd jobs. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. Like my high school coach wanted me to go to college, become a teacher, and come back and coach. And I just didn't have a passion to be in education. Like I didn't want to do that, especially in North Carolina. Um, so I worked at AT&T in sales and managed a gym called the Rush Fitness Complex. And just like I said, just jobs here and there. And my college teammate, a good friend of mine, Richard Burton, started teaching and coaching. That was his passion. That's what he wanted to do. He was coaching at Northern Guilford High School in Greensboro, North Carolina. And opportunity came up where he was an elementary PE teacher and had an opportunity to go to the high school and needed somebody to replace him. So he's like, Chris, here's your chance. Get your temp license in North Carolina. You got your kinesiology degree. Take my job as an elementary teacher, join the coaching staff. And the rest is history. So 2012. So it was after 4 years of college. I figured out what I wanted to do. That first year was Rookie Teacher of the Year in the school district and won a state championship in football in 2012. Going to our second year of 2013 and won a track state championship. And then go to my third year with 2014 and win another football championship. So it was great opportunity. And I still look back and like, man, my first 3 years of coaching was a ring, ring, ring. I know some guys go 30 years and can't get one ring. And I'm sitting up here with three. And I denied this sport for years or just coaching. So it was just an opportunity and a blessing. I'm glad to be a part of it. 2015, my wife and I got married and she worked for a new home builder. And that's what brought us down to Fort Myers. So she opened up this market and now we've been in the Fort Myers area going on 5-6 years. The way I became the athletic director at South Fort Myers High School was, when I got to Fort Myers, I couldn't find a job. So I started working at Ferguson Enterprises as a picker in the warehouse, which basically means if you're getting plumbing supplies for an apartment or a house and you need 20 faucets, 20 toilets, I'm that picker that's going to go pick that order for that sales rep. So that was my first job, coming straight from, like I said, rings to a picker. So it was crazy. It was eye opener. I would do that experience again if I had to. And finally got an opportunity to be a para at Three Oaks Middle School. Was like going there for 6 months. Met Damon Jones and Ethan Lascaris out of Riverdale, and they had an opportunity where a PE teaching opening came. So I jumped on it, became the PE teacher, football coach, and track coach. And that was in the spring of 2015. So actually, no, take that back. Yeah. February of 2016. So I actually got to coach that track season, coach the spring football game, coach the summertime, coach the first game of the season, and then I became the athletic director at South. So I came in the month of September. So craziest thing, like I remember the first game I had as an athletic director was versus Fort Myers High School here. Place was crazy packed. Rookie AD had no idea what I was doing. I think I even met the mayor that night. I have no idea. Like it was insane, but it was an awesome experience. But glad to be here. My wife and I have two beautiful boys, Talon and Tucker, and then we got twin girls coming any day now. So it's just like got a house full. We got a house full. So just thankful and God bless to be here. So
Well, guys, congratulations on the
thank you.
imminent arrival of those new family members. That's got to be
Yeah.
exciting. And thanks for sharing, that journey. I love how you kind of couch those 3 championship years, right out of the
Mhm.
chute. And not everybody gets to experience that. And,
Oh, oh,
I think it's good that you have that perspective, now as you're building the program there at South. Chris, we always talk in our profession about the importance of leadership and mentorship. And I'm curious, who are some of your mentors that you had? Maybe family members or people you've worked with or worked for.
yeah.
Who's had an impact on your life that you can share with us now?
Oh yeah, man. I can go down the line with this all day long. The first person comes to mind is my godfather, Billy Cruz. Again, small town. My dad was not in my life. I knew my dad and everything. We had a relationship with good family stuff, but single parent home. It was me and my mom, my sister. My sister was 13 years older than me, so she was out of the house early. So my godfather and my godparents come in my life, kind of like the Blind Side story, where here's a white family coming into the lives of an African American male. Again, my mom was there, everything was good, but my godmother's dad was Choo Choo Justice. So I had this opportunity where I'm hanging out with the Carolina Tar Heel legend. So if you know the Carolina area, there's basically before Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan, there was a guy named Charlie Choo Choo Justice. And if you meet a Redskin fan in the North Carolina area, it's because of him, because he was a top 50 Redskin player. But just being in that family and watching my godfather had two daughters, and watching him raise his 2 daughters, and I'm like, man, this is awesome. Had me on his basketball team when I was 5 years old. The league is 8 to 12, so I wasn't even supposed to be out there. But I'm just watching him just interact with parents, interact with kids, interact with the community, and he's a community leader. And I'm like, that's what I want. Like, that's what I want my family to look like. That's what I want my house to look like. That's what I want my career to look like, is like that guy right there. So shout out to my godfather, Billy Cruz. Then I had Coach Pruitt come in my life, Tim Pruitt, who's our football coach at the time. He was only there for 1 year. He coached me for 1 year. But what got my attention was my senior year, he was calling colleges and getting me recruited. So he's the head coach of a whole other different high school and still trying to take care of me. So that just spoke volumes to me. Then my basketball coach, Scott Harrell, who's now the athletic director at my old high school, again, there day by day, step by step, just always looking out for the student athletes, looking out for the best of interest for the kids. Now I just knew that he cared about everybody right there on the spot. And then my college coach, Bill Young, who's now the D coordinator at Pembroke University, same thing. Father person and a coach, just connecting both of them and just taking care of everyone in their bubble. And I just looked at that and I appreciated that. And they made sure everyone knew that they were there for them if they needed anything. So those guys right there. And like I said, that list can go on forever, but the people that molded Chris Harris would be that group of 4 gentlemen right there.
I really appreciate you sharing, and it's so cool that you know
Yeah.
where they are now, and can still
Yeah.
reach out to them, if you want it. I'm sure they appreciate that too.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty cool.
For our listeners, we are visiting with Chris Harris, the athletic director at South Fort Myers High School in Fort Myers, Florida. We're going to take a quick break and hear from our podcast sponsor, Violet Defense. We want to thank Violet Defense for sponsoring the Educational AD podcast. To find out about their products, go to their website. It's www.violetdefense.com. Violet Defense is dedicated to protecting our world from germs by bringing the power of UV disinfection to everyday spaces. Their patented technology enables them to harness the power of the sun to incorporate ultraviolet light into products and environments like never before. Whether you're ready to implement existing products, or if you'd like to explore researching and developing a custom deployment of their technology for your school, Violet Defense has the solutions and the experience you need. Thanks again to Violet Defense for sponsoring the Educational AD podcast. We're back with Chris Harris from South Fort Myers High School. Chris, one of the things we try to do with the podcast is this idea of sharing best practices. So I'm going to put you on the spot. What are some things that you do at Fort Myers that you're particularly proud of? I already, bragged about your organizational skills that attract me, but
Right.
what are some things that when you sit back and look at your programs, you can say, boy, we really do a great job with this. Do you got some best practices you can share?
Uh, the first thing that comes to mind, and I'm pretty sure everybody that is in the area of Southwest Florida knows that we do a pretty good job of branding. And it started with my principal. He actually noticed me through social media. So when I first got here, I had to obviously brand myself to get a coaching job in Lee County or Collier County, wherever I was trying to get to. And then when I got to South, he kind of picked that same thing up for the school. So we have a school Twitter page and we have an athletics Twitter page. We have Instagram on both and we have Facebook on both. And it seems like every single day something's getting posted or blasted out to our audience. So I think we do a phenomenal job, and I hate to brag, but I think we do better than anybody in Southwest Florida or in the state, just getting our content out there as far as branding. Like we try to make sure that you see red and black in the Wolfpack. I want it to be flooded to the point where either you're going to follow us or you're just going to block me because it's going to keep flooding your timeline. So I would say we do a pretty good job of branding. Another thing I think we do an awesome job at, and it's behind the scenes stuff. So a lot of kids and parents might not see it, is our coaches take care of each other a lot. I have my swim coach currently is out sick right now. So a lot of the coaches in the building have stepped up to make sure that the swim team is taken care of, that the practices still keep going. And that's another thing I think that's just pretty cool because they're actually just taking care of each other. And that it's not like you have to beg someone to do something. It's just like, I got this shift, you got next shift. So yeah, the swim coach, she's out right now, but it's just awesome to see coaches step in and be willing to help out. They have a 6:30 a.m. practice, and you're thinking to yourself, man, I'll have to sleep in. But there's coaches jumping to the opportunity and be like, I take care of this shift. You got next shift. I got the meet. So it's just good to see that going on with a group of coaches. You're not having to be like, can I please get someone to help out around here? And it's just that what we always say, Wolfpack family and being powerful. And it's just coaches here are all those characteristics.
Yeah, that whole underlying tone of support and communication just screams, culture. That
Yeah.
sounds like a workshop program that you need to present on
Yeah.
how to develop a culture.
Yeah.
Once again, we're visiting with Chris Harris, the athletic director at South Fort Myers High School. We're going to take another break, but we'll be back. Let's hear from our podcast sponsor, Sideline Interactive. It's becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department, but Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 a year or more every year, while also creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo and see what their tables and boards can do in action. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. We've got a Sideline Interactive board at our gym in Maclay, and it is fantastic. We use it for volleyball and basketball games. We use it for pep rallies. We also use it for signing ceremonies when our student athletes are going off to college, and the parents just love it. So I encourage you to get in touch with these folks. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. We're back with Chris Harris. Chris, one of the questions that I've been asking our athletic directors for the past, about 14 months now, revolves around this idea of social awareness. And so here's my question. How can athletic directors be better in this area? How can we do a better job of being socially aware for our kids, our coaches, and our families?
I think it sounds almost like common sense, but just be present. When I took the position, when I walked in, and it's like, yeah, I'm Chris Harris, the athletic director. A lot of kids didn't know what an athletic director was or who the last guy was. So I'm just like, all right, number one, your kids got to know who you are. And I think, now I'm not suggesting this because it's tough as heck, but coaching helped that connection of who Coach Harris was and be an athletic director. It's definitely hard to be a coach and athletic director, and I wouldn't recommend it, but it just helped. So obviously, if you're not going to be a coach, be present at the practices, be present in the hallway. So make sure your kids know who you are, and you got to know what your kids are interested in. So like, I'm on TikTok just because my kids are on TikTok. So when they're talking about dances and all this stuff, I know exactly what they're talking about. When our speaker or somebody comes in, here's their terms they love saying. Like, this is what lit means. Like, when my kids are in here, I can connect with the kids and what they're talking about. And the same thing goes with at ball games or at meetings with your parents and stuff. You got to know who your parents are. You got to know what they're interested in. Even if they're coming to complain to you about the scoreboard not working, you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're interested in. And you got to know what they're you still got to be able to talk to them about when their kid is doing something good in their classroom, in the field, or even if they're having a tough life at home. And it's just that connection. It's just, I know the athletic director world is like go, 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 go. It's my money box taken care of. Is the lights on? Is the grass cut? Is the field painted? Is my ticket takers good? All that stuff does matter. But at the end of the day, when you stop by to say, hey, Miss Barbara, how's the family doing? How's your husband, Jim? 2 weeks later, here she comes with your check for $100 just because you stopped to say, hey. That might have never happened if you didn't stop to say, hey. And it got to be that point where you're not just saying hey to that person, but you're also getting to know, okay, they actually care about me. They ask about how my husband's feeling. He actually legitimately cares. And I think that's a culture we have here at South, is that people know that when they come to our school, they come to our games, if they need me for something, they can connect with me. Like, I have no problem with my parents having my cell phone number. Like, they know. My wife understands it and gets it that, hey, if she's got to sell a house, you go sell a house. If Chris has something to do with athletics, I got something to do with athletics. But I want people to know that I'm here, I'm present, and that they can come to me for anything. And it could be just a shoulder to cry on or just a high five in the hallway, but they know they can come to Coach Harris.
Just another great example of they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So
Exactly.
great stuff. We're going to take another break, but again, we're visiting with Chris Harris, athletic director at South Fort Myers High School, South Fort Myers, Florida. Stay with us. We also want to welcome Wall of Fame by Vital Signs as a new sponsor. Wall of Fame by Vital Signs has a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. We provide a variety of interactive touchscreen options, along with an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your school, your students, both past and present. For ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments, visit www.vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's www.vitalsignswalloffame.com. Or to learn more and even get started with your digital Wall of Fame tribute, call us at 614 981 3589 or email us at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. All right, we're back with Chris Harris from South Fort Myers in Fort Myers, Florida. Chris, a new question we've been asking our EDs kind of came out of the Olympics. And again, it's early September, so that's still fresh in my mind anyway. We saw some great performances by the men's and women's teams. Certainly, Simone Biles was very candid about some of the challenges that she faced at an elite level in this area of, social and emotional health. So here's my question. How can a coach or an athletic director who really hasn't been instructed in how to deal with these types of challenges, how can we do a better job of being aware of and sensitive to the challenges that, let's say, a Generation Z student athlete is going through these days? Do you have any advice for us?
I mean, I grew up in that era of, just go, 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 and you're okay, and get back out there and dust it off. So it is tough to kind of pause for a second, but and I think that's the answer. We have to pause. So, even as coaches and athletic directors, we got to be able to stop for a second and check on our student athletes. There are students first and athletes second, and I think that gives us an opportunity. At the same time, we're talking about grades. We could also just talk about, hey, how's home life? How are you doing? I remember when I started coaching at Northern Gilbert High School, we had a set of trees outside the football locker room. And we had benches out there. And pretty much the way we did things is, we followed Coach Roscoe, and shout out to Coach Roscoe, Johnny Roscoe, who's in the South Carolina Hall of Fame for coaching, and legend in Roscoe Stadium. I kind of you do what he did. That's kind of how that coaching stuff. You follow what Coach Roscoe's attitude was and what he was doing. And one thing he always did was most coaches go straight into their office at the end of practice, where he would stop and sit down at the benches outside the locker room door. So all the coaches would do that, and I'm being the rookie coach. I was like, well, I'm going to follow suit. As kids came out, they would just sit down with us. And that was just an opportunity to not talk about football, but just talk about what's going on in life and just get a chance to just talk to the kids and just crack jokes with them and making sure they're okay. And letting them know that we're also human. We're not just their coach and going to yell at them 24/7, but also at the same time, they can talk to us. And that was just probably like the coolest thing ever. You're looking at a championship program. I mean, like I said, I was only there for those 3 years, but you're talking about four championships in 8 years. And that's probably the most important part of the practice was the end of practice and just sitting down and talking to the kids as they're leaving. Like they're trying to hustle and bustle out of there. Coach is sitting there. I got a chance to talk to coach. Well, and coach is going to take that time and talk to you. He wasn't rushing to get in the locker room or get his stuff on or go watch film. He wanted to make sure his kids were good as they're walking out the door. And I think that's what we got to do is before our kids walk out the door, we got to make sure they're good. And that's just that 1 second of just sit down and just have a chat with me real quick. So that was probably the coolest thing I remember out of all those championships.
What a great idea! And again, so easy, doesn't cost anything,
Doesn't cost
but
nothing.
has such an impact. Kind of goes
Yeah.
back to your earlier thought of building those relationships with people. Chris Harris, South Fort Myers High School. We're going to take one more break. We're going to hear from our Toolbox sponsor, Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack, and then we're going to come back and hear what Chris Harris has to add to the Toolbox. Please stay with us. We really want to say thank you to Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack for sponsoring the Athletic Director's Toolbox. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your athletic program. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack also gives the 95% of the players and the parents who really love your program a voice and helps demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out our website. You can also see the testimonials and then call them at 1-800-738-6466 or email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. Take your athletic program from good to great. Well, Chris, this has been really cool connecting with you again. I know we're going to see each other hopefully this spring at some track meets, but we're not done yet. We always like to wrap up with the Athletic Director's Toolbox, which, as I said, is sponsored by Athletic Surveys. You're certainly an experienced AD. I've seen you in action, but right now I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job. But I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. What 3 items are going to go in Chris Harris's athletic director toolbox?
Ooh, in my toolbox. All right. So I'm OCD. There's a little secret about me. I'm OCD. I like things a certain way. So the first thing I'm going to put in the toolbox is on your email, you have a thing where you can add archives. We have Outlook here in Lee County, but I can add archives. And what I did was, if you think of a category as an athletic director that you cross from your teams to your bookkeeper to your athletic boosters to officials to parents, make a category for it. So that way, when the emails come in, if it's for a parent, put it in the parent folder. If it's for your bookkeeper, put it in the bookkeeper folder. If it's about volleyball, put it in volleyball's folder. So that way you're staying organized and you know that where to find that email. A lot of people sit there and say, I got to find that email. Where my mind was about volleyball, I'm gonna go to the volleyball folder. So that's the first toolbox, and I think that made my life easy. Looking at my email now, and I probably have 80 to 100 different categories, from trophies and awards to student section to every sports team that we have to scholarships to every single clothing line. Just if that person comes in, they have their own folder. So even my secretary, Coach Eric, has his own folder. So if something that he has personal comes in, if my wife sends me something, I have my own folder. So I know where it is. So that's just organization. That's the first thing in the toolbox, is be organized. The second thing I would say add to your toolbox is SAVA. And I think we talked about this at the FIAAA. So we have Student Athlete Volunteer Association. So those students who love sports, they might get cut. They might not have the ability to play the team. They love the stats of it. The water girls, the guys that want to be on the clock, they want to take money or something like that, we created what's called SAVA, Student Athlete Volunteer Association, was what we call Wolfpack Will Horterfield. When I got here, my 2016, he was a sophomore. And I think you had the exact same student at your campus, but he knew everything about athletics. He didn't play not one sport, but I could sit there and say, hey, Will, we need a tent and a table and 2 chairs set up at the home gate. Same thing at the visiting gate. And it's done like that. So what he also did, he recruited 10 other Wills. So he graduated 2 years later, and I've kept this going to where now I think I have 35 students in a Google Classroom. So as an athletic director, you don't get to coach no more. Well, my SAVA is my team now. So I can send out that email and that list. I need 6 or 8 kids for this volleyball game. Here's your to-do list of stuff. They have the water ready. They have the tables ready. They have the scores table ready. They have all the chairs ready. So they're mini ADs, and they get to see the behind-the-scenes stuff. So get yourself a SAVA. And then the last thing I would say is get comfortable being uncomfortable. I had to do a commencement speech in my old high school, and that's what I talked about. It's just being uncomfortable. And I think that in this world in athletics, the athletic director is almost like the role player of the team. We're almost the Dennis Rodman of the athletic department. We're going to go get 48 rebounds and a pat on the back. And I think if we get comfortable doing that, our athletic department would get passed real quick. And I take that personal, as in still playing and still coaching, that I don't want to get comfortable, and I don't want to be uncomfortable doing my job. I remember true story, I heard a Hall of Fame AD say once that to be an athletic director, you can't have a family. Well, I was like, I hate that. And I think that's full of crap, and I'm going to prove you wrong. So here I am about to have 4 kids under 4. And as an athletic director, I surround myself with good people. Again, it's going back to that atmosphere and that culture that, hey, when Coach Harris has twins, I know I got 4 guys that can help run this department and can be the ADs to step in. So that's just going back and just being stay ready. You ain't got to get ready, and living that uncomfortable life of just, hey, when things happen, roll the punch and make it work.
I love that. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. And you're right. I can certainly attest to the value of those student leaders.
Yeah.
The only thing they require with pay is, maybe give them a T-shirt, a polo, or,
Yeah.
give them a food pass at the concession stand, and
Yeah.
they're there. So great
They're
stuff.
there. They're there.
Chris, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Email or cell. My email is Christopher, J as in John, H as in hat, A as in apple, at leeschools.net. Or you can reach me on my cell phone. Cell phone is area code 704-472-3144. So, and that's actually one more thing to add to the Toolbox. It's a pet peeve of mine. If you call someone and leave a voicemail, speak slowly. There's one thing I can't stand is someone that leaves a voicemail urgent and wants you to call back, and the numbers sounded like a supersonic just flying by. Just slow down. That's one thing I say. Just relax and just slow down when you give out your phone number. All right. So that way we can give you a call back as soon as possible.
Yeah, and usually that's a parent that says, "I need to speak to you right away." They leave that voice message.
Some ADs do the exact same thing. I'm like, man, you got to slow down, brother. It's going to be all right.
Chris Harris, South Fort Myers High School. Thanks so much for being on the podcast. All the best for the coming year.
Hey, thank you, and I can't wait to see you this track season.
For our listeners, remember the Zoom recordings of these interviews are being uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening today. Come back again next time for another episode of the Educational AD Podcast.